Hello there. Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 4 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here today to give you another tip on how to help you create the life you want, how to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to look at the subject of influencing others. Because I noticed out there when I'm doing my presentations and working with people, that's a big deal. People really want to do that. And yet I also notice that that's where a lot of problems pop up. We try to influence others, and rather than them saying, thank you for sharing, that is wonderful information, they start arguing, or they see us as trying to control them, or they get angry at us, or they start arguing for the very behavior we want them to change. Now, the first thing I think we need to be very clear is, in order to influence others, that takes a lot of effort and a lot of skill. So we don't want to go around trying to influence everybody in the planet. That would be exhausting. So we want to be very clear, who are the people in my life that I want to devote that kind of energy and time to? The way I like to ask that question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you want this person to be in your life? Because if this is someone who isn't important, a driver who cuts you off on the freeway, or a clerk that just kind of is being rude to you, or somebody you don't know, or maybe even somebody you do know but really just isn't that important in your life, then trying to influence them is not what you want to do. Plus, you don't want to be coming from the perspective that if I don't influence them, if I don't get them to think my way or feel what I feel or agree with me, somehow it will be bad for me. Now, there are people that does apply to, the people that we're in relationships with, our close business partners, our close friends. So I think there are people that we do want to influence. We just don't want to try to do this with everybody on the planet. So first we make that distinction. Is this someone who's important enough to me for me to spend the time and energy to become more influential in our relationship, get them to see what I want them to see, understand their perspective, etc. So let's assume that's the case. We've decided that, and in the past what we've done is we've gone to them and kind of presented our case, almost like a debate. Matter of fact, I was doing a presentation not too long ago, and one of the guys in the audience says, hey, I'm just thinking this ought to be like a debate. I'll present my topic and perspective and point of view, and you present yours, and if mine is more logical, you adopt mine, I win. If yours is more logical, I'll adopt yours. On some level that kind of makes sense, but the problem is our conversations with people aren't like a debate. In a debate, you're not trying to convince the other person, the other debater. You're trying to convince some hopefully impartial judge or panel. So you're not really trying to do what we're doing in these conversations. Plus, in a debate, you do have an opportunity to lay out your particular perspective, your argument, your belief system, while the other person has the time to do that. In an argument or a discussion that gets heated, we're jumping in and going, wait a minute, that's not true, and I never did that, and how dare you think that of me, and we never really get a chance to say sometimes what we feel. So, what I think we want to do is start with the concept of influencing others based on this awareness that you just can't tell them what you think and then have them go, oh, thank you for sharing wonderful information. Matter of fact, let's kind of look at it this way. Let's assume we have 2 people. And this is them, and this is us. And let's assume that these are the facts of the situation. Crystal clear, right? Everybody sees the facts the same way. Now, people's beliefs, people's perspectives, people's past experience color how they see the facts. We may see the facts one way, another person might see the facts in a very different way. So here we got a situation. Here's what they believe, and they believe they're right. They think yellow is right. Here's what we believe, and we think we're right. We believe blue is right. And if we're not careful, we just get in an argument about whether they should be yellow, we should be blue, and here we go. I suggest we do this. We recognize that in order to be influential with someone, we have to start with what is influencing them. That really means we have to understand what's important to them. We don't have to agree with it, but we've got to know what it is. Therefore, I suggest we take our beliefs and basically just set them aside for the moment. Hello, there we go. Set them aside for just a moment. We're not abandoning them. We're just setting them aside for a moment and become receptive. So we can understand what's important to them. We understand what's influencing them. We might even ask a question. Help me understand what's important to you here. What do you want me to know about this? Because often they'll go, well, I'm so glad you asked. It's this and this and this, because they've been waiting to do this, right? They've been waiting to tell us. And this and this and this, and then they may stop. And we might be tempted to go get our beliefs, but look, they still have stuff in their cup here, and they're not absolutely sure that we got it. So I always say, okay, fascinating, is there more? And they'll go, well, yeah, there's this and there's this and there's this. And then there's a little bit of stuff that we're so tempted to go get our stuff, but I always like to ask, is that all? Is there anything else? Because at that point they often go, yeah, there's that. And that was the stuff was at the bottom of their cup. That was the stuff they didn't think anybody could hear, but it was the stuff that was blocking them from hearing you. By the way, this whole kind of demonstration using this water, I learned from a psychologist in Houston by the name of Rob Pennington. Great guy, wonderful stuff. Google him, you'll find his material on the web. Okay, so now they've told us everything. We now know what's important to them. Hey, let's go get our stuff, right? No, because they don't really believe we got it. Because nobody else has been willing to listen to it and understand. So here's where we make sure we got it and make sure they know we got it. That's going to facilitate communication. So we say, okay, let me make sure I got it here. You said this, and you said this, and that, and this, and that. And then there was that last part, did I get it right? You always want to ask, did I get it right? Because in order to be influential with people, you got to know what is influencing them, and they have to know that you got it. Because until they know you got it, they're going to try to convince you. And they're going to think, well, he just doesn't understand, so I just need to keep convincing. So once they say, yeah, that's it, you got it, then you go get your information. But look at you. You've got what's important to them, and you've got what's important to you. Now you can be in a very powerful position to begin to blend these two in such a way where you create what Stephen calls the third alternative, which is a blending of what's important to them with what's important to you. Now this is really, really important. This can't be manipulative. You can't be doing this just to win an argument or to get them to do what you want them to do. It has to be something that's good for them, partly because they're sensitive to being manipulated. They're kind of expecting you to manipulate them. And unless you're doing this from a sincere perspective, it really won't work. But now it's a conversation where really it's not a debate about who's right. It's a conversation about the future, by the way. That's really important. This can't be a conversation about the past, because that's almost always a who's right debate. This has to be a conversation about the future. In the future, it's how are we going to do this differently? How can we engage each other, create our relationship, our working relationship, our business relationship, our intimate relationship in a way that has something for both of us, so it serves both of our purposes? Do we have a close enough vision where we really want to keep trying to do this? If you totally think we need to live on the beach, and I totally think we need to live in the mountains, the middle is neither the mountains or the beach, and that's really not going to work for us. So we've got to find out, is there a common ground, and the way to do that is to learn what's important to them and have them see us as someone who is interested and cares about that. You don't have to agree with it initially, but we do want to find something in it that we can at least understand. I mean, if someone thinks that I don't care about them, or I'm going to try to manipulate them, or I'm going to try to convince them that they're wrong, I can understand how they would resist that. That's not how I feel, and yet I can understand it. So we've got to be clear about that. I talk more about this in my seminars, in my books, because I think it's really important to be able to come from this upper 80% of the brain, remember that life from the top of the mind philosophy, and have other people come from that as well. So in my seminars and in my books, I show you how to engage someone in such a way where they shift from what I call the resistant brain, down here that lower 20%, up into the receptive brain, where they actually can hear and understand what we're wanting them to know, if we're willing to hear and understand what they are wanting us to know. I hope you're finding this fun and valuable. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it kind of explains why maybe in the past some of those arguments have turned into just situations where nothing was accomplished. If so, please hit the like button. You know how Google and YouTube really pay a lot of attention to that in terms of who they recommend these videos to others. And if you want me to come to your organization and do a talk about how to become more influential in others by actually accessing a very specific part of your brain and their brain, or how to deal with stress or deal with difficult people in a way where you're not thrown down into that lower reactive part of your brain, go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford PhD. I'll come up on the first page. Hit the contact button. Let me know what you're interested in, and I'd love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, here's to you bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.